Hello, my name is Arava VT, and I am a content creator for the First Descendants, and today we are going to be going over Lepic, who is one of the very first Descendants that you can play in the game. Lepic is really good for solo and individual play, as well as working in a group to fast clear dungeons and large groups of mobs. This particular Lepic build will actually have a couple of variants. I have done a variant for a regular Lepic and an ultimate Lepic, depending on whether or not you have him in his regular ultimate form, as well as giving you some different options on how you would like to play the game in your playstyle and show you which cards you could replace to have a slightly different build. If you did not start out with Lepic, that's okay. I'll show you how to acquire Lepic in the game. So first, to find all of his parts, you can go to your map menu, go to the Access Info tab, and here you can see how to acquire everything that you need in the game. You click on your Descendant tab, and then if you're looking for Lepic, you can go here, and it will tell you exactly how to find all of his blueprints. You can find his cell blueprints, you can find his stabilizer, you can find his catalyst, and then you'll need to find his Lepic code. Once you've acquired all of these, you will have to grind for all of these materials. It will take you 18 hours to craft each individual ultimate Lepic component, and then once you're done, it will take you 36 hours to complete the final Lepic. If you'd like to instead farm for regular Lepic, here's where you need to go for the regular cells. Here's where you need to go for the stabilizer blueprints. Here's where you need to go for the catalyst blueprint. And here's where you need to go to get his code. Once again, all this information is found in the Access Info tab of your map menu. Once you farm for Lepic, now's the exciting part, his abilities. The first of Lepic's abilities is a grenade throw. This is exactly how it sounds. You throw a grenade, it does an AoE damage, and usually will one-shot most mobs in dungeons. Overclock is an ability that can be changed by Transcendent cards. The basic version increases your skill power modifier, so as you're going through the game, you'll want to overclock, and then you'll want to use your abilities to do more skill damage. His third ability is called Traction Grenade. What this does is it tows all of the enemies in an area to one location, making it easier to combo. What you would do is you would tow them to one location, throw a grenade, and hopefully they're all dead. If they're not all dead, you throw another grenade until they are. His fourth ability is called Overkill, and this is the big boss baddie. This throws a giant fireball in an area that does a massive amount of AoE damage, as well as significant damage upon impact. There is a trick to his ultimate. If you roll after pressing the button, you will come out of the animation much faster and be able to fire more shots, rather than waiting for the entire ability to activate. So if you land the impact on a mob, it will do about 2.4 million damage, and then it will do a massive AoE in all surrounding areas. It is important to know that this skill actually goes off of your attack speed of the weapon that you are carrying. I'll go over that more later, but that is really important to note when you're grinding for the materials and the guns that you would like to use for Lepic. Now that we've gone over his abilities, let's go over the Transcendent cards, which change some of these. The first ability, which I had loaded up originally, is called Firearm Master. This is an ultimate Lepic exclusive card, and this is one that is most generally used across all Lepic builds. What this does is increases the skill range and the skill power of your ultimate ability. So this combos really well because when you go into Lepic's Overkill, you're actually changing your weapon. So this status effect does trigger, which causes you to do more damage with your ultimate. This is the standard card that most people run. I've actually found a better sustained damage card, but we'll get to that in a minute. His next Transcendent card is Explosive Stacks. This modifies the grenade throw to be charged up to 3 times. It charges once whenever a certain amount of ammo is consumed. So if you want to stack and throw multiple grenades faster, you can do this one. However, with the cooldown that I built into this build, I find this card would be redundant and not really necessary. Nerve Infiltration no longer inflicts burn with overclock. Instead, it has weaken regeneration on the target. I particularly did not like this card. It doesn't really fit with my build. I don't see any real reason to use this on Lepic, and there seem to be much better Transcendent modules, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Regenerative Braking, chance to recover MP when using the skill. I can tell you that there is no MP regained very frequently on this skill. I tested this I tested this and it seemed like the MP was never actually really regained, except maybe once every 10 to 20, triggers. It did not feel like a good card, did not feel very powerful, so I left this one on the wayside. The power unit change is the one that I recommend that will do the most damage over time in sustained fights, And this is also the card that I recommend that you run if you're using Lepic instead of Ultimate Lepic. What this does is your overclock no longer increases skill power, instead it does firearm attack instead. So what this means is in between your ultimate cooldowns, your firearm will do more damage. I've combined it with a specific gun to help increase the damage, and I will say that overall, in rigorous testing, there is more damage done over time using the power unit change than using the firearm master. Once again, damage over time, longer sustained fights, this will yield you more damage. This is better for burst fights. This is better for longer sustained fights. This particular card here was the one that I thought would be the coolest and turned out to be the biggest disappointment. What this card does, it locks you into an attack speed. You can't raise the attack speed using your gun's weapon speed like you can with this other ultimate. The MP is no longer consumed when you activate the skill. Instead, it's consumed when you use the skill. I will say, when using the skill, I had maximum MP the entire time because I had enough crits that the MP would always regen. That being said, the damage is nerfed crazy by like 80%. You lose 80% damage by doing this ability. It only procs maybe a quarter of the speed of the original ability. The only good thing is it's up constantly and you run around like Iron Man and throw balls at people, but it's not great. This is not a great augment. The only way for this to actually work is if they remove the attack speed limitation on it. It also removes the AoE effect from it, and you just have one burst damage and one burst shot for way less effect. Like I said, this is not a card to run. Don't be fooled by this card. The cards you're going to want to stick with is going to be Power Unit Change and Firearm Master, which is Ultimate Lepic exclusive. So now let's get into the build. This was a really exciting build to do. As I built him, I realized at the end that there's a couple of different ways that you could take him. I am very happy with how I have this Lepic built. I don't plan on changing it, but I will show you in this build part where you can optimize and put in more damage if you really feel that it's necessary. As this build stands, both sets will down a hard mode devourer in 10 seconds or less, so the power is here. It just depends on how much more you feel that you need. So, starting with the Transcendent cards, the Firearm Master is the first one. Once again, this is your heavy damage dealing burst fire, really short fight card that you're going to want to pick. What this does is this increases the damage of your ultimate by an amount. I would not call it a significant amount, but I will call it an amount. It does do more damage technically in a shorter period of time. However, the Power Unit Change card gives you more damage over time in longer fights. Once again, burst fighting, longer fights over time. I know I'm stressing this a lot, but like I said, I've done the numbers. This one will give you more damage over time based on your weapons, as long as your weapon has a fast enough attack speed and is built with enough damage. The next one is, once again, your melee slot. This could be flavor. It's anything that you want. It doesn't really matter. All you want to do is make sure that this module slot is upgraded. What this does is this gives you an extra 5 energy in your entire build for you to use. Okay. This is the module slot layout that I have used. So if you're looking to build your Lepic, this is what it looks like. And then now we're going to go into the cards. Emergency measures will increase your skill critical hit rate and skill critical hit damage, which always pairs well with front lines, which does the reverse and increase your skill critical hit damage and then your skill critical hit rate. This is very important for ability-based descendants. Focus on tech, as his ultimate ability is a tech ability. This will increase the power of his tech as well as his grenade throw, which are 2 of your damaging abilities. Skill concentration, once again, straight up boost to critical hit damage. Skill insight increases the critical hit rate. MP conversion, which reduces the cooldown. It slightly reduces his MP. However, with MP regen and gathering MP on the battlefield, you really shouldn't have an issue with your MP. Focus on fire increases your fire skill power, which increases your damage over time abilities in your burn, and it also helps reduce your skill cooldown. Skill extension increases the duration. This is really important because this allows for your ultimate to be up for a longer amount of time, which will allow you to fire more of your ultimate balls, which will allow you to do more damage. Nimble Fingers, once again, is a cooldown reduction. Skill expansion is the card that you can potentially remove from this build if you would like more damage. I put this card in here, skill expansion, to increase the range of his traction grenade. This also increases the range of his ultimate ability, so the AoE goes in a higher area. I find this extremely useful for fighting Colossuses when they tend to run around and they don't like to stand still. You're at least still getting your damage over time abilities, even though they're walking out of your convenient area of effect. This also makes it really fun running dungeons. You throw down the traction grenade and it gathers everybody in the room into one area and makes it really easy for your team to kill them. It's also great for managing the adds in the Colossus battles, as they are drugged to the center of one area away from the rest of your team. If you so choose, you could instead replace Skill Expansion with Dangerous Ambush. This is an alternate card. If you are looking for more damage, yes, this is better. Immobilize enemies. This counts for your traction and your toe. Will do an extra 50% damage. If they're not targeting you, your skill power is increased by 25%. So this is additional damage. However, like I said, I particularly prefer Skill Expansion. I like the range. I like the utility of the larger range of the abilities. But if you really feel like you need more damage, I don't think you do in this build, but if you really want to put more damage in, yes, you can use Dangerous Ambush instead. This is a personal preference. Here's the stat page. I'm not going to go into too much detail with it. If you guys would like to take a look at it and get all the details, feel free to pause the video here. However, like I said, this build is built around cooldown reduction, critical hit rate, and critical hit damage, using your abilities as much as possible to do as much damage as possible. I have paired Lepic with the Enduring Legacy machine gun. I have, this is the machine gun that works with fire procs. It does more damage to burning enemies. It is a pretty good fit for Lepic. It does a lot of damage, once again. And the differences between the Transcendent modules, this is the gun I was using to test for the firearm attack up buff. I will say that with this Enduring Legacy, the damage was significantly larger using the firearm attack up in the longer prolonged battles. So if you are looking for a gun, I know that you can replace this with a Python. That might even be better because your attack speed, your fire rate would be much higher than this gun. Once again, your fire rate determines how many extra balls you can do for your ulti. But for this particular build, I really wanted a gun that procced off of fire damage. I wanted to feel like it went with the Descendant itself. So that's why I went with the Enduring Legacy instead of the Python, because at least this one triggers off of fire damage. It felt more thematic for me. Once again, like I said, feel free to use whichever weapon you want, but this is the one that I used for my testing, so you may even get more value out of the firearm attack card than I did. And in case you're wondering, these are the modules that I had on the Enduring Legacy card. Once again, it is slightly built. I have modded this gun 5 times. It is still not a fully stacked gun, but it does have some improvements that your regular Enduring Legacy will not have. Now let's go over Lepic's reactors and components. So the reactor that I have currently is mounting on my Enduring Legacy. It has fire skill power boost and tech skill power boost. It increases his damage over time, his ultimate, and his grenade abilities. I have skill critical hit damage and skill cooldown reduction. You could look for just straight up tech damage, straight up fire damage. You can look up critical hit damage. Cooldown reduction I think is very good for him. Like I said, I like to have as much CDR on him as possible to be able to spam his abilities. So this is the reactor that I found. You could, of course, find higher value reactors, but this one did pretty good for me in the build. For Lepic, I've chosen to use the Slayer set. What this does is this buffs his Enduring Legacy. This increases the rounds he has per magazine. It slightly increases his skill cost. However, it drastically increases his base skill power. And when defeating enemies inflicted with his Toad, it recovers MP and special resources at a percentage. So this is a great way to get MP back. I've also made sure that I have MP recovery on here. Currently, it's out of combat. You could choose to do in combat or out of combat. As far as Lepic is concerned, I found most of the time you murder stuff in groups and then you're out of combat anyway. So by the time you encounter the next group of enemy, if you have your out of combat region up, then you've already got a full bar. Usually your ulti's even off cooldowns, so you can just spam his abilities for eternity, kill the group of mobs, move on to the next one, and then your MP's all the way back to full. In Colossus battles, what I tend to do is you can pop your ulti, kind of run away a little bit. After 5 seconds, you disengage. After 8 total seconds, your mana's full, and then you hop back into the fight. If you don't choose to do that, you can, and you would prefer to be in combat constantly, what you can do is just do MP recovery in combat. I found that less effective. But if you're really concerned with being out of combat, or you find yourself always in combat and you're never getting to trigger your MP recovery out of combat, then yes, I'd recommend swapping this out. Once again, you can choose defense or health on your components. I honestly would prefer health. The way that these stacked out, because I needed my MP recovery, I'm not running him optimized. He is a little bit squishier than I would like. However, I would search for components with HP, HP, HP. HP tends to be more useful in our current builds than defense, and especially shields. Shields are kind of useless. So you really want to stack HP to make him a little bit less squishy. So once again, when you're looking at your augments on your components, I would recommend MP recovery. You're really going to want as much MP recovery as you can get, so that way you always are able to throw your grenades. You always have enough MP for your ultimate and you're never running out. And then honestly, I would, if I could get a component dream, it would be defense and HP, defense and HP, defense and HP with some sort of MP modifier on each component. That way you stack your defense and your HP on your components, and then all of your mana regen is held on your components as well. Alright everyone, I hope that you found this guide useful. If you guys have any comments or questions, once again, please leave them below. I do stream on Twitch every day, so if you want me to answer them there, please feel free to stop on by and I will do my best. Once again, our next build is going to be Viesa, and that will conclude the trifecta of the first 3 Descendants that you start with. And then after that, we'll move on to the fan favorite Bunny. So we have some really cool stuff planned ahead. I really appreciate you guys for supporting me. If you would like to support me in game, please do so. How you would do that is you go to your social tab, type in AravaVC hashtag 9304, go down to my creator card and click add as a creator. This will help me make more videos like this in the future. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day. Good luck grinding.